Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, we talk copywriting, mindfulness, and courage with Joe McKee. Check it out. Woo!
Yeah.
Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of adventure. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment you are valued, you are loved, and you are appreciated just as you are. As you can see, I am not alone. I have an amazing guest who goes by the name of Joe McKee. How's it going today, Joe?
Good, thank you, Tom. And I love your introduction because my basic underpinning for everything is people matter, and that was very good.
I love that. I like how we're aligned on that core value. That's how I love that. Mm. Do you mind if I introduce you to the folks out there via your bio?
Oh, go for it. We'll get that done.
Joe McKee is the founder of McKee Creative, a marketing agency with the mission to connect clients with their customers. Clients love the full service approach that includes website build and SEO, paid marketing campaigns on Facebook and Google, plus looking after emails and content creation. Joe has just released Copywriting-for-Profit, the hands-on system to train agency team members as in-house copywriters. This saves agency dollars and means their team can turn out copy perfectly suited to their clients on demand. Yes, I love it. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go on.
I think just letting the folks know out there, Joe's in Australia, I'm in Los Angeles. There's going to be a little bit of a delay. So if you hear us speaking over each other, it's not because we're being rude. It's because of technology. So
I'm excited.
So I always like to share with folks, bios are awesome, but we like to really get to know somebody. So our prompt is, if you really knew me, something you'd find out about me that you could never read in my bio is what?
I went to Afghanistan for a holiday.
When?
That was in 2008, so I look back at the photos and go, really, has that gone all the time since then? But yes, I went to visit a friend, which you can imagine getting pulled up at the airport as a single, not young white woman traveling alone. They go, what's wrong with you?
Did you have fun?
It was amazing, actually. Yeah, I remember visiting schools and this little girl coming in to tell the teacher that it was her last day because her dad wanted her at home to help. And I just wanted to give her a bookshelf full of books. It was heartbreaking, but yeah. It was an amazing country and made a lot of friends, and the people were beautiful. Yeah,
that's wonderful. I love that. So take us back to the origin story. Did you always know you wanted to be a copywriter and an agency owner? When did marketing, copywriting, when did all that enter into the picture?
I avoided it for a long time, actually. The agency thing started. Okay, I'll go back. I've written for newspapers and been a freelance book editor. And it's actually the way I saw it, I was doing well and winning awards and books were being reprinted, and that was great, fiction and non-fiction with publishing houses or independent. But it was hard to earn a living that way. I don't think I charged enough. And I'd spend weeks mulling over somebody's books while I'm picking out the apples in Coles, and, it takes your whole life over. And then, anyway, life had some pretty massive changes for me. And then after one of those massive changes where a cyclone had destroyed a business that, leveled it, it's still going, but a business that I'd started with my partner, we've got a couple of racing yachts, and they run out of the week Sundays generally. And there was a cyclone, and it just flattened everything. And we bootstrapped that. So you can imagine with jetties smashed and houses smashed and boats smashed. That was pretty wild. In fact, 3 years later, the town's still recovering. And it was actually after that time that I saw Cat Cow's ad in my newsfeed, and something just clicked. And I really didn't have any savings, but I followed that thread, as Cat would say, and got on a call and thought, oh my goodness, this will be expensive, and it was. But my partner said, look, if you think this is it, take some of the insurance money and pay it back and go for it. So I did, and I'm so grateful I did, because what it did was helped me start my agency, and I've got clients I love, and that's so cool. And then also showed me how to write copy commercially for digital marketing. So it really paired, I guess, the skills that I already had. And still I've had my agency for 3 years now. And it was probably until August last year where I really avoided being known as a copywriter, because I had this thing in my head that means I'll be broke. And it was really silly. And it was actually Tamara from Thrive who said to me, why are you not writing for agencies? And so that's how Your Ads on Demand was born, the Done For You platform. And it's, as a side hustle, has turned over 10K a month, and repeat clients. And the campaigns are going really well as white label copywriting, writing for some very big names now. And it's just really satisfying to see the campaigns racing. So that's great. And then I guess I've recognised a need in agencies, because Done For You is great and we turn it around pretty quickly, and I actually do most of it myself because then people know who they're getting. I've seen the troubles that people have when they start these Done For You services, and great people running them, but there are just challenges in quality control. But the problem is still that in an agency you want something now, and you want somebody who knows your brand now. And I can get my head around a brand pretty quickly, but nothing beats as your own business, your own team, or your own trusted contractors who are really familiar with the nuances of the brand. And it's a lot cheaper than ordering from me for the long term. For the price of a couple of sales pages, you've got somebody trained. So, yeah, that's how that started.
So now the iteration that you're at now is training like an in-house team to become your copy people, your marketers. Is that what I heard there at the end?
Yeah, it's working really well. So we obviously have the training sessions that are already recorded, and we do have some templates to help people put their training wheels on as they get started, but we really want to move past that. So we have live calls where we do live edits, and people bring what they're working on now, which is very practical. So they can hit the ground running with whatever their agency needs done right now and get it built for them with my help. And then we can build out templates to suit them as well. And so it gets their mind off the templates though, and into just how to speak. Because if you can speak, you can write. And there are ways around. If you can't spell, we can fix that. But moving past the formulas, they're all very, very good. And it's good to understand those rules, but moving past them and being able to just flow with speaking to your audience from your brand's point of view. Simple.
What would you say are some of the common mistakes that you see people making when it comes to copywriting?
Making it all about them instead of about the customer. So any story you tell, you want your client or your customer to be the hero and you're the guide. And people talk about using story and copy and find that as a really hard thing, and it's actually not. We've got some beautiful examples for even local businesses and big brands of how they're doing it. And yes, there are, again, the 7 classic story arcs that Christopher Booker popularised in 2004. But again, there is a really simple format that I teach my students. And it comes from, I had a film distribution company for a while. In the film industry, they have a log line instead of an elevator pitch. So it's getting the essence across really quickly. And basically, you have your hero, you have your goal, you have your obstacle, and you have your transformation. Just 4 factors. And if you even just use that, you'll start to tell some pretty powerful stories and guide your audience through to where you want them to be. So it becomes quite easy, which is cool.
Do you mind, you said you have some examples. Do you mind sharing with us what it looked like in that template that you have?
Yeah, I can probably do that. It's tricky to show you on a podcast because I'd like to play you clips of movies and that just takes a while. But yeah, I can certainly put a list together for your listeners if you like, and maybe afterwards they can go and just play them at their leisure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. You can put it together and put it out as a resource.
So I'm staring at a blank page and your words are in my head. Don't make it about me. Make it about the customer. Do you have any examples of, like, should I first create a sheet where I kind of answer the questions that you said, like the goal, the story, or do I just kind of word vomit and then edit? What do you suggest for folks who are looking at a blank screen right now?
Yeah, there's a really simple way, and obviously if you're familiar with the brand, I don't need to tell you this, but if I come in and I'm not familiar with the brand, first I'll obviously look at the landing page, the offer that they've created that I'm writing for, and then I run through their social media to see what people are saying. and often, and just look for the feedback so that I'm using the voice of the customers. And then I'll often run to the Instagram if I'm writing, for instance, for a coach, to try and understand their voice, because that's where I find it gets a little more natural and they might ramble on a bit and I can pick up little phrases, so that works. But what I'm really looking for is the benefits and the pain points. You know, what's that one? It's whether you're talking just about the copywriting or any marketing. What really matters is what's that immediate pressing need that people have, who has the need, and who's able to pay for it. So once you've defined that pressing need, and hopefully when people send me a brief, they've got their offer pretty clear, but sometimes they haven't, and sometimes I have to tease it out of the lander. And I might run through the lander and just find their benefits list and pull that through to the ad copy. So basically what you're wanting to do is hit the problem. So you've obviously got the hero as the client. The goal is what you want them to achieve. The problem is all the things they've tried to do until now, and then you have to show why yours is different, because that injects some dopamine into the people's brain and has them going, oh my goodness, I haven't seen this before, always looking for something new, gets their attention pretty quickly. And then lead them through to the transformation. And often it's the social proof of other clients that is the easiest way to do this, because we've just heard people, and if someone else has done it, we go, oh, it must work. So I hate that we're kind of so easily led sometimes, but we are. And no point reinventing that.
Speaking of reinventing the wheel, would you say there are things that people have been doing that are kind of like outdated? Like, hey, that worked back then, but now in 2000, what year are we in? 2020, that kind of copywriting stuff doesn't translate anymore. Is there anything like that you think we should let go of that you see happening in copywriting?
Look, I'm particularly averse to the screaming secret headlines, you know, and the problem is I'm sure that they still work in some markets. And it probably depends whether the market is a little bit savvy or not. If I was writing to entrepreneurs, I wouldn't really use them anymore. If I wanted to take money from clueless people, maybe I could. It sounds very harsh, but you can get away with it. And that's not really what I'm about. So I did have an agency recently who were building their landing page out, and they took a template that probably does convert well, but the person who runs that agency, just their personality doesn't suit that screaming hard sell. And the problem is then if you use it once, it's like trying to pretend to be someone else at a party and picking up a date and then having to pretend you're that person next time. That's pretty hard to sustain. It's just better to be your authentic brand and write for your brand. So we just reworked the page and we still kept a lot of the social proof and the pain points, but the headline wasn't the screaming thing that didn't suit them. And when they got it back and read it, they just breathed a sigh of relief. They just went, you know, that's us. And that way they can carry that for the long term. And I think people take a lot of these templates, and it's nothing wrong with templates. Sometimes you need some guidance or structure where you're not sure where to start. There's no shame in that at all. But people take them and try to overlay them onto a brand, and it doesn't suit their tone. So I think if anything's outdated, it's that. It's time to learn to think for yourself. If you want to build a proper brand, grow up. Is that harsh? Do I sound like an old girl grumping? But grow up and think about who you really are and how you want to portray yourself in the market. And just be you. You can still be very, very persuasive as you. You don't have to put that shell on that doesn't suit.
So a lot of our folks listening are going to be entrepreneurs, usually people with a message or some sort of mission that's greater than themselves.
Yes.
So they're writing their own copy for their own self. But let's say they have like so many other people stuck in their head and they're like, yes, Joe, I'm with you, but I don't know how to write as me. Is there any exercises or questions that they should ask themselves that might help their... Yeah, go for it.
Just think of it as a conversation. Pick one person that you're speaking to, not a crowd. One person. It's like the same with actors where they'll say just pick one person in the audience and speak to them or sing to them or whatever you're doing. And just have that conversation with that person. And just tell them what, walk them through the problem and the solution and make the offer. Keep it real. I hope that doesn't sound too simple.
No. I mean, It often is, and I think a lot of it's just you just gotta start and put it to the market and see how
Yes.
people react, and then just keep writing.
Look, it's that whole thing. I think entrepreneurs worry so much that they're not going to be good enough. And the thing is, most entrepreneurs who have put the work in and learnt the skills so that they're solid in what they deliver, they are good enough. They do a good job. You know, if you're confident in what you deliver and confident in the solution that you bring to your client, then just say it, bring it, show them, because people want to have their problems solved. So just get rid of the fear, do it, test it. If your landing page isn't converting at 20%, you want to know why. Either your targeting's off or your message is off. So start with something. Make sure that you're hitting the pain points of who you're speaking to, like the real ones, not the fluffy ones. What's the stuff that keeps them lying awake at night that you can help with? And it's usually going to appeal to their ego or their profitability. You know, you can help them make more money or just make them feel safer. People are really yearning for community, and a lot of things can be built on community. Even with courses, a lot of the information can be seen online for free. But what people want is to be seen. And if you can touch that button and help people know that they can be seen, then you're home. My doggo has just woken up and is having a big loud drink. I hope that's not too loud at your end.
You're good. We can't hear it.
I think he's like a camel. He drinks twice a day for a long time.
So at the beginning, you had started to say, you believe that everybody matters. And now we're talking a little bit about, worthiness. So I do think that there's a huge part of mindset and the emotional journey of entrepreneurship. It sounds like that's an area that you have dived into yourself. I could be wrong.
Totally.
I'd love to hear your thoughts around mindset and entrepreneurship and owning our worthiness. If any reflections you have on that.
Look, it's so important. I've seen it with a lot of big names as well. I guess I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of people who do their job very well, and it's shown me that it's normal for all of us. For myself, I really had to restart my life from scratch 12 years ago. And I won't go into the backstory on that too much, but I was at a stage where everything had to be rebuilt, personal, business. And it left me feeling I had left an environment where people believed things differently to me. Let's just put it that way. And it had left me feeling that a lot of people were trashing me for standing up for just reality and speaking up against hypocrisy and all that sort of thing. So I was pretty messed up for a while as far as just finding my confidence again. And that can take a long time, I suppose. And there's no problem with that either. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would probably identify with it even when they've started businesses that haven't worked, even if it's not the personal side of things. Failure is part of learning what works. And again, there are lots of big names who have failed many times. We know that. And we know that here. But when we experience it here, it can be like that kick that takes a long time to get over. And I think people just need to remind themselves of the facts for a start, the skills that they have, the people who love them, that they do make a difference in this world, and that they have contributions that are worthwhile. So if something doesn't work in the first instance, that's okay. Take the good bits from it and then iterate into something else. Mindset's really important. I've never been good. Very interesting. Even when I was in a religious setting, I had trouble sitting still to pray. Everyone would talk about their quiet times, and it drove me nuts. So I always felt like a bit of a failure, even though I was very sincere. But even since then, I think about meditation, and you read, Dispenza's work and all that sort of thing. I'm not good at sitting still. Maybe I could go and weed the garden and think, but sitting still for me is hard. And manifesting sounds hard. And yet when I look back at things in my life, I've manifested some pretty massively good things, like big stuff, things that were on my screensaver and became real, And I think, how did that happen? And I realised I just decided. I just went, yes, I'm going to work towards that. So I think it's about finding the language that works for you personally. If somebody explains something in a language that doesn't fit with you because of where you've come from, it doesn't matter. Just make it work for you. For me, it's just decide. I'm still trying to work out how to articulate that well. But honestly, when I think of my life and what I'm really grateful that I've built, huge things have happened that I never would have believed 10 years ago, but that I thought I wanted. So I think we're more powerful than we admit to ourselves, and I think that's pretty fun. I'm really interested in the power of our brains and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I think the core thing is just remember that, yes, you do matter as much as anybody else, and you do have something to contribute. And on those tough days where things aren't going very well, just give yourself a bit of time, get a bit of sunshine, have a drink of water, have a rest if you need it, and then come back with a clean mind and just realise that, yeah, you're worth it. It really matters to me to just elevate people at every chance I get. So whether that's the clients that I'm working with in the agency or the copy I'm writing, it's a huge factor, yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Joy. Now, I know a lot of people, especially some folks who maybe aren't entrepreneurs but are still listening right now, that and entrepreneurs, but especially a lot of folks I know, wherever they're coming from, really resonated with this part of the conversation.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing, are there any books, podcasts, people, any things that has resonated with you? Because you were saying, I think it's really true, finding your own language. Because I've had some people that, like, mindset people, that people are like, this person's the best. And I'm like, I hate them. 5 years later, I'm like, oh, they are the best. But like, we all kind of have to find our own entry through our own resistance and biases. So anybody that you want to share that has helped you, or books or podcasts or anything?
Wow. Okay. So many. I'm such a bowerbird as far as there are just so many. I don't even know where to start. Golly. Okay. I mean, there's Tim Ferriss, and Amy Porterfield to me is just fantastic for consistency. James Schramko is an Australian business coach who I started to notice, and when I look at a lot of the big names, I'm starting to realise he's coaching a lot of them. He's a very quietly spoken Australian guy who makes sure he's got time to go surfing every day and hang with his kids. So I like that when he speaks, he's not all hype, and his experience is real, and he's very, very good at what he does. So I tend to have his podcast on repeat. But I think I think I'm late to the party discovering Glennon Doyle about 2 months ago. Woman in the States, she's pretty fabulous. So I think it's a matter of just finding people who resonate with you. On Twitter, I go and look for smart minds in different industries. So it might be industries that I'm not familiar with, because it helps me keep my brain moving. It might be in science, and they're using words that I can't even pronounce, and I like words. So they're measuring galaxies and I can't comprehend the numbers, but smart politicians, people doing things with, again, humanity. Even Depeche Mendelia in marketing speak. I first noticed him because he was honouring Shalina, his wife, in a post. And for me to see a male marketer, it's a fairly male-dominated industry, just really acknowledge that his wife is a huge part of his business and that they're partners in what they do. Straight away I went, yep, I'll listen to you, because that told me a lot about who he was as a person. So it was lovely to meet them in Fiji last year, and yeah, really cool. But that's a very rambling answer for people to follow, isn't it?
I'm thinking,
honestly,
it's gonna be.
I probably have 5.
Go ahead.
I probably have 5 books on the go at any one time for the last 20 years, so I don't even know where to start. But maybe I can make a list for you afterwards.
What do you think is the approach people should take to going down this rabbit hole of curiosity? If they're like, okay, you've sold me, Joe, on mindset's a big part of, becoming my whole self to then market and all these things. is there any sort of like philosophy or mindset that people should take towards their approach to discovering mindset?
Yeah, I think doing one thing that will look after you every day, and it also might mean doing one thing that makes your environment a little bit better every day. And it might be just the smallest thing, because we have so many things to do, don't we? The to-do list is insane, honestly, when I look at my diary, and all the things we want to do as well as the things we have to do. Sometimes just bring it back to very, very simple. What's one thing I can do that's going to put me in a better place today? It's just, And then make sure you're following smart people. There's so much rubbish out there and so much hysteria and hype. And if you're following someone who comments on an article without reading the article, I'd say unfollow them. You know what I mean? It's just use a little bit of discernment in who you listen to. And I think that makes a huge difference in your performance all round on how you look after yourself, how you run your business, and your output. The quality will just be different.
So on that note, diving back into the entrepreneurship part. So the majority of folks who are listening right now are coaches, course creators, those kind of folks. So within that niche, there's a lot of, folks out there who will say, here's my course. You take their course and they're like, great, now you have created your course. I'm taking my course. Start to run Facebook ads and you will make millions. So I get a lot of people who will kind of message me and say, I have maybe $300 to $500 in Facebook ad spend. Maybe I've sold a couple of my courses. I'd like for your agency to start to run my ads. Okay, so yes, tell me what the problem is with that picture for you, and then kind of share, when do you think people should start running ads, or how should they approach looking at the role ads can play in building their business, kind of coming from that just getting started as a coach or course creator vantage point?
Okay. So I wrote copy for an artist who teaches art classes, and Jodie Millwood was running that. She's running the ads for that. So fantastic media buyer. And Tracy Verdugo is the artist. Now, in February, we started with $100 a day for her $27 product, and it returned, I think, $130,000 in the first 5 weeks. And then a break until June, and then ran again, and it's over $500,000 now in return. And we're just putting up her course at $397. I think we're writing for that now. Now, that's a really good example of a course that's sold very well. Now, Tracy has a very good organic audience as well. She has endorsements from people like Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. So right there, you've got a strong organic start. And I think it's really important. You can spend money to buy data and find out how good your offer is. And some people do that, and some people are happy with the results, and some people are not. They say, yes, I'm happy to, and then they're unhappy when they spend the money. And the data comes in, and it shows that people love the idea and get to the landing page and do not click buy once they click through. So it's better, I would say, to really test your offer first. You might have sold a couple. I'd say that's probably not enough. I would say build your organic presence. And again, share what you know organically. Share why you do what you do, share what you believe. And that can be scary to put yourself out there in case nobody bites. There's nothing worse than putting up a post and nobody comments in the first 8 seconds. It's like, holy crap, I better delete it. But, get past that, keep sharing and keep posting and keep selling. And once you've sold more than $500 worth, you might be ready to run ads, because then you've defined that your offer is valid and that people actually want it. And you'll have some feedback. You can use those endorsements in your ad campaign, which would really help. If you don't have that, it's going to be hard going, like pushing through mud, But if you can point people towards a wall of videos of everybody saying, oh my goodness, this is fantastic.
I think it's important for folks to know that out there. I think that Facebook ads have been kind of pushed or portrayed as like the holy grail, or like the answers to all problems. Like, nobody's buying my course. It's because I must need to run Facebook ads. Go ahead. Speak on it.
I think what people forget, digital marketing is a really, really good tool, because you can measure who's buying and why and when they clicked, and you can find the bottlenecks and you can strengthen them. So that is fantastic compared to buying an ad in a magazine and wondering about the circulation. We know that. But what people don't realize is that building a business, whether you're building it online or with a shop down the street, it's going to take generally a couple of years for people to remember you're there, for people to trust that you're not just a blow-in, I bought a course in January and I have watched with Denise Duffield-Thomas, who has Money Boot Camp, and she's awesome. She's so chilled. If you want her to come and speak on stage, you've got to pay a bra tax for her to put a bra on and go out. Now, she's done very, very well, millions of dollars. And I watched her from when she started her business. Now, I kept having the bottleneck of, would that work for me if I buy that? It took me 9 or 10 years to buy her course. So there's one example. And it's not that I'm scared to buy courses. I just had this huge mental block that what she does wouldn't work for me. So I think people forget all of that, and they forget that it takes a little while to build the flywheel, because they've heard the stories of the huge successes and the outliers, which happen anywhere, physical business, online business. You get some that just charge ahead because they've got all the ingredients right from the start and some nice luck and timing. Like the fidget spinner craze. I mean, my goodness, But if you think of it as building a business and have a proper grown-up mindset to building a business, that it will take a little while and you've got to put some foundations in place, you're going to be a lot happier and you're going to do a lot better. So, just keep putting one block on top of the other.
So I think that's a good disclaimer. Okay, so let's say I do now have, I usually tell people, like, when you're starting to make 5 to 10K a month from your course, that's a good time. You can start to consider running ads. So let's say I'm starting to run ads, and I'm hitting a bottleneck somewhere, like you said. The ads are working, but nobody's purchasing. I'm booking calls, but people aren't showing up, or I'm booking calls, but nobody's saying yes. Where do you usually triage, or how do you usually identify for you what is the thing you need to solve?
Yeah, first I would make sure the targeting's right, but generally with a good agency it should be, because that work's been done. It's tricky when you get a nice click-through rate. If the click-through rate's higher than about 5%, that was the good thing I learned from Justin Brook in Ad Skills. It's actually a cause for concern, because it could be a little bit too clickbaity with what you're doing in your copy and creative. So you obviously want your click-through rate, your link click-through rate over 1%. But if it gets really, really sky high, it could be like people just clicking just out of curiosity. So I just check that as well, and check that the offer is totally congruent. And then check little things like the checkout page, the add to cart, are there bottlenecks there with the way it's set up? All the tech. I mean, I did one recently for a coach, and I was asked to write her ads, and I thought, I'll just go and download the free guide first to just get a look into that, and I can probably pull things through for the ad copy. And when I signed up and got my confirmation email and went to download the guide, I got a 404 page not found. So, check the tech. Sometimes it's those silly things that can be overlooked. Sometimes people get on a call and your sales team might be too pushy, or they might be just not congruent with your offer. All those things are important as well, and this might need review.
That's awesome. I think those are all key things. I've had that happen to me too before, where it's like, everything's working. What's wrong? Oh, we copy and pasted the link or some little thing wrong. So I think it's like a combination of like being super creative, but also you have to be super type A as well when it comes to running ads.
Yeah, I'm really big on my team members not just saying, that's not my job. I've helped out with other businesses and seen that happen. So, for instance, the graphic designer will send through a beautiful canvas ad, and then you click on the link and it's broken. And they'll go, sorry, I was just making the photos. It's like, well, and for me, when we're sailing, if you're trimming a sail and your head's down looking at the winch and you're not looking at what's happening to the sail, for a start, you can break the winch. But you're not going to get the best performance if you're not looking at the other end of the line. And that's just what I bring into the common sense of with your team. It's really important to make sure people just check things. What's this being used for and does it work? It's really easy and it only takes a second to click,
Let's talk about leadership and building a team, because it sounds like you have some experience with that, some reflections. What are some good ingredients that you found or some necessary things that people should make sure they're considering when they're putting together a team or leading a team?
The best thing I've remembered, when I was editing books, I edited a book for a lady called Susie Johnston, who's a coach to some of the big executives in Australia. And she was going to call it Am I the Problem? And then my partner, Michael, being a bloke who just wants the problem solved, he said, no, call it I Am the Problem. Just tell me what the problem is. I am the problem. So she did, spelling well. And really what I picked up from Susie was learning the language of your employees. What is important to them? What are their life goals? One girl might, she used the illustration, one girl might just like buying expensive shoes. One person might want to be, providing more for their family. Somebody else might have, when we can travel again, pictures around the world set up. And so for her, helping her staff achieve their goals just increased performance of the business dramatically. So it might sound roundabout. And I think sometimes people say, oh, we should put KPIs in place. And, for instance, if our media buyer, if they get this much return on ad spend and they're doing it 3 months down the line, we're going to give them a percentage of the agency fee and, to try and encourage everybody to help retain the client, which sounds logical and can work if that's what people are motivated by. But what I found for my team, and this is not going to be the same for every agency, I hire contractors who have their own businesses because what I want is an entrepreneurial mindset in people. But I feel like, and I've seen it happen in other agencies, if you hire an entrepreneur full-time, they're not going to stay long because they're going to want to build their own business. So I prefer to help everybody improve, and I know that they want to build their own business. So if I can find other resources that help them do that, and I'll even refer other clients. Like, I don't mind. I think the world's a really big place. And I'm really happy to say for each campaign, have you got capacity? Let's do this. And they go, yep. And we've been working together on the same clients for 2 years now, and it works beautifully long term. But they don't feel hemmed in. I've paid for instance, if I know they want training, I'll pay for them to do the training, and I don't care if they're using it for other clients, that's fine. Or if their sister has a baby, and there's a product that might be great for them, I'll send it to them. It's just, I think, just recognising them as people, what matters to them, and just build them up. And I think once you do that, things flow really nicely. You've got a nice loyalty and respect, and it works. So that's works for me. But, yeah.
No, I resonate with that so much because I think so many times you see leaders, they'll discover a new management style and then they try to apply that to every single person in the company. When it's like, you got to really treat each employee uniquely because they're unique human beings with unique needs.
There was a book years ago, and it might have even been reissued, The 5 Love Languages, that was out. And that can be really helpful for a quick read just to understand how differently people respond. Some people like gifts, some people just like quality time, and just finding what those points are with people. And again, it's just keeping it human, isn't it? I keep coming back to that, but people like to be seen. They like to know that they matter, and it's not hard. It's just taking a little bit of time to actually care. Yeah.
Love that. Is there anything else around the state of marketing we're in, around copywriting, anything like that we haven't touched upon that is on your heart that you want to speak to?
What I'm really excited about is the bigger businesses who are starting to operate on that level. There's a superannuation company in Australia, for instance, called Verb Super, and it started by women, for women, by some very smart women. Now, they don't say men can be part of it too and all of that sort of thing, but what they've recognised is that a lot of women in Australia retire with maybe 1/3 of the super, or none, that men have, because they've stopped and taken time to have babies. And we've actually got a problem in Australia with older women living in cars because they've spent their whole lives looking after their kids and their parents, then their marriage fell apart, they ended up with nothing, they don't have any super. And it's a growing problem. It's actually a very high rate of homelessness in that sector. And so this company, Verb Super, don't just invest ethically with the superannuation funds, but they're also providing financial literacy, free training, coaching. They've got a little academy going on for the members, and I think that is fantastic. So the more companies I see like that, I'm just going, yep, bring it, And I think as marketers, we have such an opportunity because everything we can do, they're just shiny tools, whether we're building a bot or running a Facebook campaign or landing pages, it doesn't matter. They're just a toolbox. What is most important is what are we saying and who are we speaking to and why? And for me, I like working with things that matter. You know, the clients that I've had for the longest are Easy Exercising, and they came to us with, can you imagine, power-assisted exercise equipment for people pre- and post-op or old people. Now, imagine just trying to run an ad for that in Facebook. How many use our power-assisted exercise equipment? I don't think so. But we've called it Easy Exercising for the over 50s. The tagline is laughter and a cup of tea included, and we're building community. And each clinic has a little Facebook group, and they have Christmas in July together and share funny memes and go on holidays and look after each other. They will not move to a different suburb until a clinic opens there because they love it so much. And they're saying it's saved their life. You know, there's so much loneliness out there, and it's connection, isn't it? So yes, they're regaining their mobility. They're making little videos about how now they can pick up their dog where they couldn't bend down before, and there are all these little videos that are not fancy, but I tell you what, they work in the ad campaign because, as Seth Godin says, people like us do things like this, and people see themselves in it. And it's growing like crazy. The local assistance, financial assistance system is interested in them, and professors from the local university are coming to check them out because they're doing something different that matters. And I love that. I mean, yeah, look at me getting all excited about exercising for retirees. But it's really cool. And it's not that every client we work with has something that dramatic. You know, yes, we've got e-commerce clients selling jewellery and whatever, but I like things that are useful. What is it, the old saying, useful or beautiful or both? That works for me. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So, Jo, where can folks reach out to you and, you know, join Copywriting for Profit or learn a little bit more about what you're doing? What are some of the ways people can connect with you?
Yeah, okay. So copywriting-for-profit.com is where they can come and learn to write for their own brand easily. And if they want to email me, it's just grow@McKeeCreative.store, S-T-O-R-E. So we'll keep that simple.
And how did you get the domain name Copywriting for Profit? You'd think that had been taken. That's awesome.
It just works. I don't know.
That's great. It's
I
such
just
a
wanted
great
something
name.
that says what we do. You know, we make money with words.
I would have thought
nice
that.
when you can measure that.
I would have thought someone would have grabbed that name in, I don't know, 1999 or something, because it's such a, when you see it, you're like, yeah, what a great course name and domain name, Copywriting for Profit. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was a little bit excited that it was available.
Okay, folks. So we have McKee Creative in the show notes. That is Jo's website. Copywriting for Profit, we're going to have in the show notes. And then tell folks a little bit about your ads on demand.
Okay, so that's the Done For You copy service that we started last August as a bit of just to help agencies out. It's pretty busy. So basically, you can go to copy.youradsondemand.com and you can order one ad if you like. That's $40. Easy. We'll be back to you within 2 business days. Or you can order email packs, landing pages, lead magnets, whatever you need done, and we'll get it done. Simple.
Show notes for today are tommerl.com/Jo, tommerl.com/JO. Tommerl.com/Jo is where you will find all of the show notes for today. Jo, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come here to share your knowledge, your insights, your mindfulness, your intentionality, all of that with us. So from me and the Celebration family, just want to share our gratitude and appreciation. So thank you, Jo.
No, it's been really good to say hi, and yeah, here to help wherever I can. So go for it.
Definitely. So our closing ritual is for you to share with the folks out there an invitation. So what would you like to invite them to do, to consider, to think about, to become, to read? What is your invitation?
I would say think about how you can look after you. Just one thing today. What can you do that's going to help you feel more relaxed and know that what you do is good? And then how can you take that to share it with other people?
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you once again, Jo. I appreciate you so much.
It's great to spend time with you. Thanks, John.
Of course. And to all of those listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.